right, something C-trashed. Symbolic again. I decided to make a part two. I didn't really get a chance to. I ran out of time, you know. So, in terms of satirizing religious concepts or concepts of a particular religion, it has to be done with great care. One has to approach it as an artist, and satire in general is an art form, so it has to be approached as an artist. You have to decide what tool you're going to use, what approach you're going to take. You know, are we going to use uh, burlesque, parody, travesty? Travesty might be actually the safer route to go because it tends to bring out the inherent absurdity within an idea, and I think that's really what we're looking for. We're looking for bringing out an absurdity or an inherent contradiction in the material. You know, to what degree do we want to tinge it with irony and with sarcasm? Of course, here, we get towards causing pain. Absurdity generally doesn't cause pain, a feeling of absurdity. It may cause a feeling of disorientation. But when you start to get into biting sarcasm, you start to cause pain. It starts to alienate people. Will certainly win no allies. You alienate someone, they're going to stop listening. Um, uh, uh, Another form is caricature, and this is the danger with cartoons. And as you see, cartoons are at issue right now. And I've pointed out some of the difficult things with caricaturization. Using caricatures also, it's very prone for stereotypes to slip in, and prejudices to slip in. And if you look at some of the look at classic racist cartoons, or take the United States and look at any political cartoons that were done against new immigrants. Go back and take a look at the Irish. When the Irish were first immigrating to the country, you'll see political cartoons portraying them with simian features, ape-like features. Caricaturing or caricature can be used to dehumanize people, and dehumanization is the first step towards extermination. So these are the dangers of visual representation, particularly caricature, which overemphasizes facial features and physical features. Um, but in any event, those are the risks, those are the dangers. Humor in general, because it tends to be very cerebral, is always in danger of not connecting with compassion. You know, of becoming disconnected to compassion and to sensitivity, and just becoming cold and cruel. This is one of the dangers of comedy and of humor. There is such a thing as warm humor. There is such a thing as warm wit, and there is such a thing as abstract, as I say, abstract satire that will work, but it has to be used like a finely honed tool, finely sharpened, finely honed, and very carefully used, almost like a surgical procedure. Uh, or we risk, as I say, doing a lot of collateral damage, and I don't think collateral damage is acceptable. Some people do, but I don't think that innocent, good people should feel that they are part of the target. You know, we should be able to narrowly focus the target um, of humor. As far as satire goes, Phil Hellenes has the best piece I've seen on YouTube so far is one of Phil Hellenes' videos called "Slavery: The Happy Days." Check it out on his website. It was a response to Jesus Freak. Jesus Freak was arguing that slavery in the Bible, what he called biblical slavery, was acceptable, whereas secular slavery, well, that was a terrible exploitation. But biblical slavery, which was slavery to God the Sovereign, was, well, that's okay. That's the will of God. And Phil Hellenes did a beautiful piece of satire, uh, basically exposing that whole point of view as false. And this is one of my major objections to the Abrahamic religions is at least to Islam. I'm not too acquainted with Judaism, but the Old Testament's the Old Testament. So all three of them condone slavery. You know, I refuse to accept slavery. I refuse to accept it. And this is one reason I say that the scriptures are not of divine origin. Any scripture that condones slavery is man made because we're the only ones sick enough to try to enslave fellow human beings. You know, that's just one of my objections, but that's a very primary one for me. And you see people try to talk their way around it, all the way around it. Comes down to, do you believe in slavery or do you not believe in slavery? Um, and as soon as somebody says we are slaves of God, it's false. So this is a beautiful piece of, as I say, satire that philhellenes did. Uh, really brings out the absurdity of the idea that you know that there's such an acceptable form of slavery, biblical slavery, because God is the sovereign and we must be His slaves. Absolutely denigrating to humanity. Uh, and it was a beautiful way to do it. Beautiful, beautiful piece of satire. Anyway, that's kind of the story. Jokes. Is it joke? Is another form of humor. Someone told me years ago that a joke always has a target. Interestingly, um, there appears to be a great deal of vanity in certain types of humor too. Satire can be very, very prone to vanity because it can tend to bring up emotions of contempt or disdain, and that merges over into haughtiness. So we get almost into a classism. I know you're reading the Communist Manifesto, tremendous book. That there tends to be almost, you start to feel superior through the act of sarcasm. Especially sarcasm creates disdain and contempt, which can make people feel superior, which is a very negative side effect. So I think this is why self-deprecating humor um, is so positive, because when you yourself are the target of your own humor, it eliminates the vanity factor, because it immediately makes you humble because you are treating yourself as the target or the focus of your own humor instead of somebody else. There's an old saying that comedy is when somebody else slips on a banana peel. Tragedy is when you yourself slip on the banana peel. So that's the difference between comedy and tragedy. Anyway, jokes and humor in general can dehumanize, and so they're very dangerous. Humor is a complex. I'm just amazed at how complex humor is. Complex. It can warm us, or it can be cold and cruel. It can give us insight into ourselves and into human nature, or it can stereotype, caricature, and target, and actually cause conflict, unnecessary conflict. It can make us humble, or it can make us vain and haughty. It is quite a remarkable thing, humor. In any event, it certainly shouldn't be attempted by all these amateurs out here who are hiding underneath the banner of free speech and promulgating these cartoons, some of which I say are bigoted caricatures of a different culture and a different ethnicity, when actually Islam has no ethnicity. That's the story. Check out that philhellenes video, Slavery, the Happy Days. Good talking to you. Let's keep up the dialogue if you'd like. It's a fascinating topic. Humor has always fascinated me. The anatomy of humor is fascinating. Okay, take care. Bye bye.